For 3 consecutive weeks, we've been going through a bit of a roller coaster with the box office and a lot of different narratives that, well, don't line up or add up because they don't remain consistent from week to week. That's a big problem, and it's been something that's been happening for quite some time. Hollywood is completely broken, and I'm sure all of you could agree. But it's even more broken if Netflix ends up with Warner Brothers, which is not what this video is about. But when you take a look at what's making money in the box office, it's a different movie every week, because that's as long as they can hold attention. And I don't care what your narrative is about Zootopia, it lost ground this last weekend. So did Wicked, which lost ground the previous weekend, and so on and so on. There's been nothing overwhelming that has captured the public zeitgeist in a way that, well, demands attention. And there isn't going to be. It doesn't matter if Avatar shows up in a big way at the end of December. It's also not going to deliver at a rate that, well, Hollywood would prefer. So when it comes to a horror film that most everybody can enjoy, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, first of all, it had some major visual upgrades. The animatronics are better, and so are the earnings at a $63 million rate. That is a record in its own way, and kind of a defining point on the fact that there hasn't been anything big coming out of Hollywood in a really long time. So, of course, we're going to talk about it. Five Nights at Freddy's wins a collapsing weekend. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder. Five Nights at Freddy's is today's topic, but I do lots of topics throughout the week. 5, in fact. In fact, you're going to be able to see 5 different videos at least, plus a bunch of live streams if you watch the 6-Minute Daily each and every day. Now, in order not to miss any of that, all you have to do is check out the main channel and make sure you follow the channel. So double check you're still subscribed and you have all notifications turned on. That way you don't miss anything and I get all your great viewership and the channel continues to grow at a rate that I think we will all be very proud of since we're on our way to 50K. Hopefully we can get there by the end of the year, but that's up to you. Regardless, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 went absolutely wild. Post-Thanksgiving record-breaking opening is up to $63 million, which I don't think anybody thought was going to happen, except for maybe me, who thought that, well, nobody's going to be super in love with Zootopia on a big old follow-up weekend, and nobody's in love with Wicked. That fell off the weekend before. So as we look at it from Anthony here over at Deadline, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is now opening up at $63 million and $109 million worldwide. Huge numbers, or at least they appear huge. We have an inflationary caution to talk about, not to mention the fact that prices for films have gone up exponentially, and so have the fees for premium large format. But it's the second biggest horror opening of the year from Blumhouse's Atomic Monster, and the only thing bigger than it was The Conjuring, which was pretty impressive for a fourth film. It had a solid hold through the weekend. In fact, its hold through Saturday was minus 33% better than the minus 39% of the first film. And a lot of people think overall it's better. And as Anthony claims to have said all along, it's the biggest opening for a post-Thanksgiving theatrical release. Technically, Freddy's 2 unseats the previous record held by Tom Cruise's Last Samurai, which was $24.2 million, which was a very long time ago, so I'm not really sure exactly how much water this argument holds. But I do know for a fact that it is impressive when compared to the opening of 2001's Ocean 11 at $38.1 million. Other than that, this is a big deal. Going into the next holiday, this is kind of a setup for the gap that we're going to experience headed into Avatar or anything else that is showing up in the next 3 weeks. And the reason I say it that way is because nobody remembers what's coming up and nobody seems to care. Variety points out that the opening itself at $29.8 million was a massive debut, especially compared to the previous film. And the Pizzeria Party Animals brought the welcome boost to a post-Thanksgiving box office. $29.8 million from 3,400 theaters is a huge number, considering that widest possible release is stretched over 4,000 theaters. And overall, because of the massive Friday, the film is on track to gross $56.5 million domestically by Sunday, which we already kind of talked about is not the real number, considering a $63 million projection. Even Hollywood Reporter is a little excited about this, opening with a historic $57 million. Again, not the accurate number, but the fact that this film is keeping the box office from a slump is encouraging. Freddy's 2 earned a B Cinema score. Nobody seems to mind the campy animatronics or some of the most common things that the critics complain about. And in comparison to everything else that played out last weekend, because, hey, everybody was shouting Disney from the rooftops for absolutely no reason, at least in my estimation. So, Five Nights at Freddy's will finish in first place with only 3,412 screens, which is a huge accomplishment at $63 million. Now, Zootopia 2 isn't really slouching, but did fall 57% in 4,000 theaters to a $43 million finish. Now, this is not the movie that we were told this was going to be. But again, the narrative was based around China, which, well, this one just plain simply isn't. Now, Wicked for Good fell an additional 73% weekend over weekend to a $16.7 million finish. I would say Wicked for Good is finished and likely going to drop by similar amounts in following weekends, since the follow-up crowd of theater kids are probably done with it at this point. Everything else that happened this weekend is just tag-alongs. Even the G-Kids film Jujutsu Kaisen Execution and the Lionsgate film Now You See Me 3. But as usual, the thing that's most important to me isn't quite established just yet, as more numbers are coming in. But of the 23 films that are measured here in this weekend's performance, we have $149 million in complete box office performance, which isn't that bad. But in comparison to the last couple of weekends, it could have been better. Regardless, this continues to show the declining pattern in the box office in the United States of America and the lack of film goers when it comes to second and third weekends. That's right. If it's the first weekend of a film, you're going to have a lot of butts and seats. That second and third weekend, not quite so much. Is it the quality of film that's the problem? Or is it the lack of rewatchability that we've been talking about for years now? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Did you see a film this weekend, and did you enjoy it? Was Five Nights at Freddy's your cup of tea, or something you opted not to see? And finally, let me know your projections forward for Avatar: Fire and Ash. Since I seem to be so down on it, what do you think we'll see in the future? Is it over $1 billion or not? Is Zootopia 2 over $1 billion or not? How about Wicked for Good? I just want to see what everybody's thinking. I don't think anybody's thinking so positively these days. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Hit the like button right away if you haven't already. Let me know anything in the comments section below. And as always, until next time, see ya! But probably not at the cinema, unfortunately.